Alright, one more application of adding, subtracting, and multiplying could be volume. To write the volume as a polynomial in standard form, you need to know a volume formula. The good news is we'll provide those in the problems. So here's a rectangular prism. The volume for it is length times width times height. And so this is pretty basic. Volume equals 2x minus 1 times x plus 2. And whenever you have three factors needing to be multiplied together, remember you pick 2 and multiply. Use a little abbreviation there. So let's say I do these two. I'll just have to distribute the x here and get x squared plus 2x. So then I'll trap that back in parentheses and bring down the one I just finished, except for you need to write it correctly. Okay, so bring down the 2x minus 1 that we haven't covered yet. Alright, so now I need to multiply those together. So these are now 2 things times 2 things, so you can think of this as FOIL, or just distributing. 2x times x squared would be 2x cubed. 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. Multiply the 2's, multiply the x's. And then now we have to distribute the negative 1, which would be inside negative 1x squared, or negative x squared. And then last, negative 1 times the 2x would be negative 2x. If we combine the like terms here, our final answer would be that the polynomial for volume is 2x to the third plus 3x squared minus 2x. Remember to change exponents when you add or subtract. Okay, moving forward to another one. Okay, for some reason my cylinder was not on my next slide like it was supposed to be, so I just created one here for you. Sorry for the bad artwork. The volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared, that's for the circular base, times the height of the cylinder. So pi r squared times height. Okay, so when we're going to multiply, we have a pi. We have a radius that we need to square. The radius happens to be the x minus 1. And we have a height that is x minus 5. Alrighty, so you have to remember what the square means on a binomial squared. X minus 1 quantity squared should tell your brain that you need to write it twice. I'm going to back this over here so I have a lot more space. I need to write x minus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 5. Okay, so pick 2 and multiply. I think I'll pick the last two. So x times x, I'm going to have an x squared. X times negative 5, I'm going to have a negative 5x. Negative 1 times x, I'm going to have negative 1x. And negative 1 times negative 5, I'm going to have positive 5. So complete that by adding like terms and trap it back in parentheses. Okay, bring down the rest of the problem. Okay, now I'm going to need to multiply another piece in. Now this is weird because I actually have 2 pieces left to multiply. I have a pi and an x minus 1. So I'm just going to advance myself back 1 and I'm going to multiply the x plus 1 in, minus 1 in. So I'm going to multiply by x. So x to the third minus 6x squared plus 5x. And then multiply by negative 1. So we get positive 6x. Looks like I've made a mistake here. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Minus 5. Okay, so I just noticed when I wrote was writing 6x here that I failed to write the x with my 5. That came from x times 5, so it most definitely should have been 5x. Okay, so total those up. That's x to the third minus 7x squared plus 11x minus 5. And all of that was multiplied by pi. So my final step, this is where it gets weird, is I'm going to distribute pi. All of these things, all of these numbers are going to get multiplied by the pi symbol. You don't need to use a number. You can just use the pi symbol to stand for it. So this would be pi x cubed minus 7 pi x squared plus 11 pi x minus 5 pi. This would be the answer left in terms of pi, would be the word for that. And so someone will use the pi key later on if they wanted an approximate value, but this is the exact value. Alright, so there's a cylinder that actually was multiplying 4 pieces together. So you pick 2 and multiply, then you multiply in 1 more, and then lastly you multiply in the 4th one. If you have questions, ask in class.